come to Staten Island. That's the first step. So I represent the North Shore Business Association. It's an organization that was formed primarily, or rather initially, after a few of us business folks were hit by the storm, and were pretty much, left for dead. So my question, I get right into it, is elected a Speaker of City Council, what initiatives, what plans do you have for small business owners, considering that they have had to deal with very adversary measures that were put in place? The small business, as we know, represents the backbone of America, but we haven't really felt that support in partnership with government in years. And the past couple of years have been the most difficult, and then the storm made things even worse. So what would you guys propose coming in, and how do you intend to use your speaker podium to advocate for small business?
Small businesses are the economic engine of our city, right? I know that in my district, the biggest business I have is Macy's. Other than that, everything else is a small business, and so it's what's kept my community thriving and moving forward. As Speaker, I believe that we need to continue to support our small businesses. We need to make sure that the dollars that the federal government send our way, that we track those dollars in a real way. When we talk about building resiliency throughout our city, it's not just to rebuild the infrastructure and to help homeowners get back on their feet, but to also help those small businesses that were hit by Sandy. I believe that, again, coming from the labor movement, I can only do that by organizing the council, organizing the small businesses, and making sure that the administration is also broad and in tune with the needs of what the small businesses are, that when we are figuring out what kind of legislations we're putting together, that we're looking at bills that are going to help protect small businesses and not hurt them. And so we can only do that by organizing ourselves. And my first step, and what I'm proposing, is to make sure that my colleagues help me figure out what each community needs in terms of what the small businesses are going through, and put together a plan that is going to help the small businesses continue to thrive throughout the city of New York.
I wanted to let you know a couple of things we have done. Small businesses often find parking fines to inhibit people they often inhibit people going to your place of business. We put into effect through my committee 5-minute grace period legislation that would give people the right to have that grace period once they find a parking space, to get that Unimeter receipt in the window of the car. Because we had complaints from people that the tickets were just unbelievable, and that they needed time. Senior citizens, disabled people needed time to often do that. And so that was something that we did. $600 million a year is raised by New York City on parking violation fines alone. We have to do more regarding health code enforcement. Mayor de Blasio has brought this up. When the health inspectors come to many of our businesses, they often drive the businesses crazy. We do not have proper training for many of the inspectors. We did adopt legislation in the council recently to say that we have to look at the fines that affect non-food related violations. And we try to address that, but I think we have to do more to encourage businesses, not discourage small business.
Thank you. And Bobby, as you know, I come from a small business background. And some of the things that we have done already, but it's not nearly enough, is that we've enacted legislation in order to protect the businesses that have been getting violations piled upon violations. In addition, when a small business owner wants to open up in a location, he or she has to run around and go to DOB and DOHMA. They've got 5 different agencies, city agencies, they've got to go to. That's unfair. We've tried to centralize it so that it can be done all together and in one day, instead of that small business owner being forced to be available and there 5, 6, 7 days at all different hours. So that's some of the legislation we've already enacted. MWBE, we do not get our fair contracts. within the city structure. I have proposed legislation that will see to it that not only are there goals set, but there has to go a little further and put in a point system, something like what they have in Atlanta, in order to ensure that our MWBEs do get their fair share rather than just getting a goal set. So that's just some of the things that we have done and some of the things that we need to do to enact, to put real teeth in local law 129 instead of fooling the small businesses and the MWBEs. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I love you here.
You go on, Giovanni.
Second of all, the first thing we have to do is obviously not treat our small businesses as piggy banks. And we tend to do that. As soon as we need some cash, all of a sudden there's a rash of fines. I'm proud that my committee, the Oversight Investigation, was one of the committees that co-chaired the fines that Councilmember Baco was speaking about when it came to restaurants. Now, I've run a few small businesses. One was a nonprofit. I also owned and opened a cafe.
That's like me and you.
It failed miserably. That's not important. What is important is that I learned a lot about the problems that small businesses are going through, and I think I can bring that to the city council, and I have, and I'd love to do with a speaker. One of the things that I found is something that Councilmember Digi was speaking about. There are many that businesses have to go through. And like, we're trying to force small businesses who don't have a lot of time to bend to fit a thing that doesn't really work. And every time I have a small business forum where I bring everybody in one spot, it's loaded. So we have to take the information to the folks. I'd love to see a one-stop shop van or bus that we can go from place to place. Every so often, just have people come get their questions answered at one time, whether it's a fine, whether it's something that they had to do that didn't do. And my thing says stop, so I'm going to stop now, but I hope we were able to answer some of your questions.
Thank you, Giovanni. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was chair of the Small Business Committee in the State Assembly for a number of years, and worked a lot on the issues we talked about today on the council. I mean, it's the issue of insurance costs, it's the issue of real estate taxes, it's the issue of fines that are constantly given to businesses by sanitation for leaving a piece of paper on you that you didn't sweep up. You swept up half an hour ago. All of a sudden they catch you with paper that someone dropped on the street. We need to make sure the city is working together. And as Giovanni said, not a piggy bank. We're not there just to raise money, and that's not why the violations are there. They're there to solve a problem. One innovative thing we did in Queens, and I talk about the diversity of Queens all the time, but the business outreach centers are throughout the city, and we need to create more here on Staten Island. But in Queens, we set up business outreach centers which reach out, especially to new immigrants who may not speak the language, didn't know how to devise a business plan, didn't know how to market their business, and pulled people together, pulled lawyers and accountants and kitchens, like shared kitchens where they can work together on different products to try to make it a community effort to try to improve businesses and to make small businesses thrive. And I think that's a good idea we should try here on Staten Island as well. I know they have some things like it, and we want to expand that.
We all know that our small businesses have just been nickel and dime by this administration. And we know that for our neighborhoods, and particularly in immigrant communities, entrepreneurship really thrives right through the small business sector. So we really need to nurture that. I think what we have a great opportunity right now, because we have a mayor-elect in Bill de Blasio who has made it clear that he is aware and is familiar and understands that small businesses have been nickel and dime, and that there needs to be a change in the way that this administration and the city of New York treats and works with the small business sector. So I think we have an opportunity as a council to also develop a working task force that can, in unity and in collaboration with the mayor, make recommendations on how and what changes we would like to see based on our experiences. And I know that here in Staten Island, this issue is really important, that there are some really important voices that can lend recommendations and experience to that conversation, so that then we can work with the administration in making sure that they're addressed. So I think that that's the way we would approach. I think some of the ideas that have been shared here tonight are good ones that we can continue to nurture, but I think we have a window of opportunity here that we really should not miss.
Thank you, Dan Garodnick. So I agree with a lot of what's been said already here. The city has gotten to a place where it no longer really feels like a partner to small businesses, whether it is in getting them started or helping them deal with enforcement issues. And we need to do a lot better on that front. We have an Office of Special Enforcement to deal with cross-agency problems that exist out there. We need the same sort of collaboration when it comes to approvals, when it comes to expediting things for small businesses. It's a change of culture, it's a change of philosophy, and it means that when you have people who are out there who are hired to do expediter work, to help you as a small business or any New Yorker navigate the complexity of New York City's bureaucracy, we should make that absolutely unnecessary. New York City should be its own expediter. New York City should be helping small businesses or your average New Yorkers, for whatever the problems are that they are facing, navigate the challenge that they have. I will tell you, we've had a major infrastructure project in my own district which had a pretty significant impact on small businesses. And we worked very hard to bring city resources directly to the problem, to shine a spotlight on the issues that they were facing, highlight the fact that many New Yorkers deserve to support those small businesses on the basis of the fact that these folks were taking a hit for all of the rest of us in this project. Those are the sorts of ways that I think you can change that culture.